you know that odd, fleeting sensation when a moment feels like it's been pulled from a dream you can't quite place. It's as if a memory, thin and wispy, like morning fog brushed by, leaving you puzzled but strangely comforted. This is Daisia. RV, a phenomenon where your mind convinces you that what you're experiencing is something you've already dreamed. Unlike its cousin Daisia Vu, it's not about familiar scenes or places, but about the feeling that a dream has already sketched. This moment, sometimes it's gentle, like a soft whisper in the back of your mind. Other times, it lingers, nudging you to wonder where the dream ended and reality began. At its heart, it's a quiet reminder of how deeply intertwined your waking and sleeping worlds can be. Your brain, ever the storyteller, weaves fragments of thought, emotion, and imagery into dreams that might resurface later, like echoes bouncing through time. It's not a glitch or something to fear, but a gentle, natural rhythm of how your mind works like a river, quietly carrying bits of itself downstream. So, when that feeling arises, let it drift by, a reminder of how beautifully complex and connected your inner world truly is. Asterisk, you know those moments when something unexpected blooms in your mind, like a flower opening to the sun without warning. That's the enigma of spontaneous creativity, a quiet mystery that feels both intimate and boundless. It's not something you can summon on command, yet it appears when you least expect it. In the shower, on a walk, or halfway through a mundane task, as if the universe whispers an idea into your ear. It's like catching a glimpse of a shooting star, fleeting, yet illuminating. Try to chase it, and it slips away. Relax into the stillness, and it finds you. Creativity, in its purest form, is less about force and more about allowing. Think of it as a river flowing beneath the surface of your thoughts. Sometimes, when you're quiet enough, you can hear its gentle current carrying fragments of inspiration. It reminds you that you're part of something larger, a dance between your inner world and the vast unseen possibilities around you. Trust it, let it surprise you. And when it does, don't question its arrival, just hold it gently, like a gift, and watch where it takes you. Asterisk, you find yourself standing at the edge of something vast and unknown, like peering into a misty valley, just before dawn, where the shapes of things are familiar yet strangely altered. Near-death experiences often feel this way, moments where life and something beyond it brush against each other, leaving behind whispers of light, warmth, or a presence that defies explanation. People who've been there describe it as being held in a boundless quiet, like floating in a river that carries no fear, only peace. Some see memories flicker like fireflies. Others feel a love so deep it seems to dissolve every weight they've ever carried. Scientists call it the brain's response to crisis. But those who've lived it speak of something more, as if the mind, in its most vulnerable state, touches a truth too gentle to name. Whether it's a trick of biology or a glimpse beyond, what lingers is often a quiet courage, a sense that life, even in its fragilities, woven with mystery and meaning. And perhaps that's the gift, not answers, but a reminder to hold each moment like a candle in the dark, tenderly, knowing how briefly it burns. Asterisk, you might have heard about phantom limb pain, that strange and haunting sensation where someone feels pain in a limb that's no longer there. It's as if the body holds on to a memory, a shadow of what used to be, and can't quite let go. Imagine it like a melody that lingers in your mind long after the music has stopped persisting. Sometimes beautiful, other times aching. For those who experience it, it's deeply personal and often baffling, like trying to grasp at something just out of reach. Science tells us it's the brain's way of grappling with loss, rewiring itself in ways we're still learning to understand. But it's more than neurons and signals. It's a reminder of how deeply we're connected to the parts of ourselves, even when they're gone. It's as though the body whispers, "I remember you," and that memory can be both comforting and cruel. Yet, there's hope in the understanding that the mind and body are resilient, always seeking balance, always finding new ways to heal. It's a mystery, yes, but one that speaks to the quiet strength of being human. Asterisk, you might wonder how someone's mind could become a mosaic of distinct identities, each with its own voice, memories, and sense of self, as if fractured into pieces. Like a stained glass window, dissociative identity disorder, often rooted in profound and overwhelming trauma, is like the mind's way of building compartments to survive what feels unbearable. Imagine a child facing relentless harm or fear. Their young mind, still tender and forming, may seek shelter by creating separate parts to hold the pain, allowing the rest of them to continue functioning. Over time, these parts can develop their own rhythms, like instruments in an orchestra, each playing its own tune but still part of the same whole. It's not a choice or a flaw, but a deeply ingrained survival mechanism, a testament to the mind's resilience even in the face of chaos. Understanding this doesn't erase the complexity or the challenges it brings, but it can offer a lens of compassion, reminding us that behind every fragmented identity is a story of endurance, a soul searching for safety in a world that once felt anything but safe. Asterisk, you might think of memory as a well-worn path through a forest, each step reinforcing the trail, but over time, the wind scatters leaves, rain softens the edges, and sometimes, without realizing it, you veer onto a new route that feels just as familiar as the original. False memories are like those subtle detours. They settle into your mind with the same quiet certainty as real ones, woven seamlessly into the fabric of what you remember. Perhaps you recall a childhood birthday with vivid details, the color of the balloons, the taste of the cannoli, to learn later that parts of it never happened. It's not that your mind is failing you. It's simply doing what minds do, filling gaps, smoothing edges, stitching together a story that makes sense. These persistent illusions aren't flaws, but proof of how deeply you're wired to find meaning, even when the truth is elusive. And so, when a memory feels true but might not be, treat it gently, like a fragile heirloom or a half-remembered dream, knowing it's just one thread in the larger tapestry of who you are. Asterisk, you're sitting there, wondering how something as ordinary as a spider or a crowded room can send a person into sheer panic, as if the world itself has narrowed down to that one terrifying thing. The roots of extreme phobias often tangle deep in the mind, woven from threads of past experiences, inherited instincts, or even stories we've absorbed without realizing. Imagine your brain as a cautious gardener, overwatering a seed of fear, until it grows into something far larger than life, not because it wants to, but because it's trying, in its own clumsy way, to protect you. Sometimes, a single moment of childhood fright, like a sudden fall or a loud noise, leaves a shadow that lingers for years. Other times, it's as though the mind mistakes a harmless thing for a threat, like a glitch in an otherwise wise system. But here's the gentle truth. These fears, no matter how overwhelming, don't define you. They're just echoes of a mind that cares too much, trying to navigate a world it doesn't fully trust. And with patience, even the deepest fears can soften, like waves smoothing the edges of a stone. Asterisk, you might find yourself wondering, In those quiet moments when the world slows down, why people sometimes act with pure selflessness, even when it costs them something. It's like watching a candle in a dark room, how its light doesn't hesitate to reach out, even though it knows it will burn down a little more each time. Human altruism is one of those mysteries that feels both simple and profound, like a river that flows without asking why. Scientists and philosophers have tried to unravel it, but maybe it's not something to be solved, just felt. Think about the last time someone did something kind for you without expecting anything in return. How it softened the edges of your day, like sunlight filtering through leaves. Or perhaps you've been the one to offer help, not out of duty, but because it felt natural, like breathing. This kindness, this willingness to give, is woven into who we are, even if we don't always understand it. It's as if we're all part of something larger, a quiet current that connects us, reminding us that even in a world that can feel cold, warmth is always possible, and that, in itself, is enough. Asterisk, you might wonder how some people endure unimaginable hardship and still find a way to stand tall, like a tree that bends in the storm but never breaks. It's not that they don't feel the weight of what they've been through, they do. Deeply, but somewhere inside, there's a quiet strength, a kind of inner compass that keeps them moving forward, even when the path is shrouded in fog. Think of it like a deep well within them, fed by small but steady springs of hope, purpose, or even just the stubborn refusal to let darkness win. They don't bounce back so much as they learn to carry what they must, weaving their pain into the fabric of who they are, like scars that tell a story of survival. And while no one would choose such trials, there's something profoundly human in the way they adapt. Finding light in unexpected places, a kind word, a fleeting moment of peace, or the simple act of getting up one more time. It's not about being unbreakable. It's about discovering again and again that you can be hurt and still heal. You begin as a spark, a quiet flicker of awareness in the warm, dim world of infancy, where every sensation is new and unlabeled. At first, there is no you at all, just fleeting impressions, like sunlight dancing on water, here and then gone. But slowly, softly, these moments begin to connect, like beads on a string, forming the earliest threads of memory and recognition. The sound of a mother's voice, the touch of a blanket, the taste of milk, these are the first landmarks in the vast, uncharted territory of your mind. Over time, like a flower turning toward the sun, you start to reach beyond mere feeling, into knowing, asterisk, this is me. That is you. Asterisk, it's a quiet miracle, unfolding without fanfare. As your consciousness gathers itself like morning mist on a pond, shimmering into something whole. And though you won't remember these first fragile steps, they shape everything that follows, the way you love, wonder, and even fear. So when you pause to think, asterisk, who am I? Remember, you began as a whisper and grew into a story still being told. Asterisk, you wake in the stillness of the night, your body heavy as if pressed into the mattress by an invisible hand, while your mind races, wide awake yet trapped. This is sleep paralysis, a brief but bewildering moment where the boundary between sleep and wakefulness blurs like a fogged mirror. It's as though your body has forgotten to untangle itself from the dream world, leaving you caught in a strange in-between. You might feel a presence in the room, a shadowy figure or a whisper just out of reach, your mind, in its half-awake state, trying to make sense of the void. But there's no need to fear. This is simply your brain's way of protecting you. A fleeting hiccup in the delicate dance of sleep. Think of it like your mind pulling a blanket over your body, keeping you still while it finishes its nighttime work. Though it can feel unsettling, it's a reminder of how intricate and mysterious our inner worlds are. And as you lie there, steady your breath and remind yourself it will pass. You're already softening the edges of the experience, turning it from something strange into a quiet moment of self-awareness. Asterisk, you know that quiet nudge in your chest, the one that whispers before your thoughts catch up. That's your gut feeling, a subtle, ancient language your mind and body share, like sunlight filtering through leaves, too soft to ignore, yet too gentle to shout. It's not magic, though. It can feel that way. It's your subconscious piecing together clues faster than your conscious mind can name them, weaving patterns from experiences you've tucked away like old letters in a drawer. Sometimes it's a flutter of warning, other times a quiet pull toward something good, as if you're standing at the edge of a path and the air just smells right. You don't always need to justify it, but it's worth listening, not because it's always right, but because it's a part of you, honed over years of living, learning, and feeling. Think of it as an old friend who knows you better than you know yourself, leaning in to murmur, asterisk, pay attention. And in those moments, even if the world feels uncertain, you're never truly alone. Asterisk, you sit there, wondering how someone's mind once tangled like a knot of thorny vinescan suddenly loosen, as if touched by an unseen hand. The mystery of spontaneous remission in mental illness lingers like a soft fog over the field of psychiatry, shifting just out of reach whenever we try to grasp it. Some people wake one morning to find the weight they've carried for years has lightened, not by therapy or medicine, but by some quiet, internal shift, like a door swinging open in a breeze. Others describe it as waking from a long dream, the world suddenly clearer, colors brighter, as if a veil has lifted. Doctors and researchers search for answers, tracing paths through genetics, environment, even the quiet alchemy of time, but the truth remains elusive, like trying to catch moonlight in your hands. Yet, in that uncertainty, there's a strange comfort, a reminder that the mind, for all its fragility, also holds an uncanny resilience, an ability to heal itself in ways we may never fully understand. And perhaps that's okay. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're simply meant to remind us of the quiet magic woven into being human. Asterisk. You might find yourself wondering how something as simple as a sugar pill can make someone feel better, even when they know it's just a placebo. It's like a trick of the mind, a gentle nudge that convinces your body it's being healed, even when no actual medicine is involved. Think of it as a bridge built by your expectations and beliefs, connecting your thoughts to your physical sensations. When you truly believe something will work, your brain can release chemicals like endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, or even reduce stress hormones, creating a real, tangible effect. It's not magic, but rather the power of your mind and body working together, like a quiet symphony playing in the background of your well-being. This doesn't mean you're imagining things. It means your thoughts can influence your reality in subtle but profound ways. The placebo effect reminds us that healing isn't just about external remedies. It's also about the hope and trust we carry within us. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? That even when things feel uncertain, your mind has a gentle, innate ability to help you find balance. Asterisk, you might close your eyes and picture a sunset, the warm hues bleeding into the horizon, the faint outline of clouds catching fire, but for some, that canvas remains stubbornly blank, like a screen that never flickers to life. This is aphantasia, the quiet mystery of minds that don't conjure images the way others do. It's not a flaw, just a different way of experiencing the world, like hearing a symphony but never seeing its colors. Those who have it might describe their thoughts as concepts, not pictures, as if their imagination speaks in whispers rather than brushstrokes. Yet they dream, remember, and create in ways that are just as rich, just woven from a different thread. It's a reminder that the mind is vast and varied, a landscape where some walk through forests of vivid imagery while others navigate by the steady glow of ideas. And perhaps that's the beauty of it, how effortlessly we adapt, finding our own paths through the unseen. There's no right or wrong here, only the quiet wonder of how differently we each see, even when we don't see it all. Asterisk, you sit by the window, watching the world pass by, and wonder what it's like to feel everything so deeply: the joy of a stranger, the grief of a friend, the unspoken weight in a crowded room. Extreme empathy is like standing in the rain without an umbrella, where every drop is someone else's emotion, soaking into your skin until you can't tell where they end and you begin. It's a gift, this ability to understand without words, to hold space for others as if their hearts were your own. But it's also a weight, like carrying a basket filled with stones. Each one a story that isn't yours, yet somehow becomes part of you. The trick, if there is one, is to learn how to listen without disappearing, to be a mirror that reflects, not a sponge that drowns. You don't have to lose yourself in the tides of others' feelings. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing you can do is step back, take a breath, and remember that your own heart needs tending to. It's okay to be soft and strong at the same time. Asterisk, you sit in the dim glow of a single lamp, turning over the mystery of the God helmet in your mind. How a simple device, placed gently on the head, can stir such profound and otherworldly experiences in those who wear it. It's as if the hum of its electromagnetic waves brushes against the edges of perception, like fingertips tracing invisible threads in the dark, weaving moments of awe, or even encounters with something far greater than ourselves. Scientists whisper of temporal lobes and neural whispers, but you feel the deeper question lingering, soft as candle smoke. Is this a window into the divine, or a mirror reflecting the mind's own boundless capacity for wonder? Perhaps it doesn't matter. What stays with you is the quiet truth that our brains are vast landscapes, capable of conjuring both the sublime and the sacred from the faintest ripple of energy. And so the mystery remains, not as a puzzle to solve, but as a gentle reminder that some experiences, like starlight on water, are meant to be felt, not fully understood. Asterisk, you've likely felt it before, that uncanny sense of familiarity when hearing a song, a phrase, or a voice, as though you've encountered it before, even when you're certain it's new. This phenomenon, known as dasya antandu, or already heard, taps into the delicate interplay of memory and perception. Imagine your mind as a vast, dimly lit library, filled with countless shelves of experiences. Sometimes, a new sound or melody resonates with something stored in the shadows of these shelves, triggering a fleeting sense of recognition. It's not that you've truly heard it before, but rather that your brain is weaving a tapestry of connections, linking the present moment to fragments of the past. This can happen when your attention is split, or when a sound carries echoes of something familiar, like the rhythm of a childhood tune or the cadence of a loved one's voice. It's a gentle reminder of how deeply intertwined our experiences are, and how our minds strive to make sense of the world, even when it doesn't always align perfectly with reality. In these moments, there's no need for concern. Simply your brain's way of whispering, "I've got this," even when it's navigating uncharted waters. You might have wondered, in moments of stillness, where the roots of your moral instincts lie, why kindness feels like warmth in your chest, or why fairness seems to balance the scales of your thoughts. These instincts, deep and almost instinctual, didn't just appear overnight. They've been woven into the very fabric of humanity, stitch by stitch, over countless generations. Think of them as seeds planted in the fertile soil of survival, nurtured by the need to live together, to trust, to cooperate. When early humans formed tribes, they didn't just share food and shelter. They shared ideas of how to treat one another, creating the earliest threads of morality. It's like building a bridge, each plank a small act of kindness, each beam a rule against harm, all working together to connect us. Even now, these instincts echo in your heart, guiding you toward compassion and away from chaos, like a compass pointing toward what feels right. They remind you that, at your core, you're part of something bigger, the story of humanity where caring for others has always been the anchor in the storm. And isn't it comforting to know that these instincts, though ancient, still live and breathe within you, shaping the person you are today? Asterisk, you've probably noticed how some people seem to carry a silent world within them, like a calm lake that never ripples, no matter how much you try to stir it. That's the essence of selective mutism, a quiet enigma that leaves many wondering why certain individuals, often children, can speak freely in some spaces, but fall into silence in others. It's not about defiance or shyness, though those words often get tossed around. Instead, it's as if their voice gets caught in a delicate spider's web of anxiety, woven so finely that even the thought of speaking feels impossible to untangle. Imagine standing in front of an open door, knowing exactly what's on the other side, but your feet refuse to move. That's how it feels for them, a barrier that's invisible to others, but deeply felt within. Yet, it's important to remember, this silence isn't emptiness. It's a language of its own, a way of protecting themselves until they feel safe enough to let their words flow. With patience, understanding, and gentle encouragement, that door can slowly open, revealing a voice that's been there all along, waiting for the right moment to be heard. Asterisk, you might feel like a traveler who has wandered into a vast, silent forest, where the trees stretch endlessly and the air hums with stillness, a place that feels both comforting and overwhelming at the same time. Extreme introversion isn't just about being shy or quiet. It's like living in a world where external noise feels louder, heavier, and more draining than it does for others. Every interaction, every crowded room, can feel like stepping into blinding sunlight after sitting in the shade, startling and intense. For someone deeply introverted, solitude isn't just a preference. It's a sanctuary, a place to recharge and rediscover clarity. It's as if their mind is a deep well, and every moment spent alone allows them to draw up fresh thoughts and ideas. This doesn't mean they don't cherish connection, they do, deeply, but in smaller, more intimate doses, like savoring a single piece of rich chocolate rather than devouring a whole box. Understanding extreme introversion is like learning to appreciate the quiet beauty of a moonlit night. It's not flashy or loud, but it holds a profound, serene magic all its own. And that's okay. It's just the way some hearts are wired to see the world. Asterisk, you sit there, wrapped in the quiet of the evening, wondering how the mind can sometimes wander so far from itself that a person might believe they no longer exist. This is the unsettling heart of Cotard's delusion, a rare and haunting condition where someone becomes convinced they are dead, or that their body has lost its life, like a house abandoned by its owner. It's as if the threads connecting thought to feeling have frayed, leaving them adrift in a world that feels unreal. Yet, even in this strangeness, there's a fragile logic like a dream where the impossible makes perfect sense. Scientists still don't fully understand why this happens, though it may arise from a storm in the brain, where the parts that recognize life and self go quiet. But here's the thing, even in the face of such mysteries, the mind's resilience shines through. Many who've walked this shadowed path eventually find their way back, step by step, like dawn slowly filling a darkened room. And that, perhaps, is the most reassuring truth of all, that, no matter how lost we may feel, the light always finds a way in. Asterisk, you, lying in the soft cocoon of your bed, might find yourself drifting into a world where the usual rules don't apply, a place where you can fly, meet long-lost friends, or even reshape the landscape with a thought. Lucid dreaming is like discovering you're the director of your own film, aware that you're dreaming, yet still immersed in the story. It's a fascinating interplay between the waking mind and the subconscious, a gentle dance where you're both participant and observer. Imagine standing in the center of a vast, ever-changing garden, where every flower blooms with the clarity of your intention. This awareness isn't just magical, it's deeply revealing. Through lucid dreaming, you can explore your inner fears, desires, and unresolved emotions in a safe space, like turning the pages of a book written by your own unconscious. It's a practice that can bring a sense of empowerment and creativity, teaching you about the fluid nature of reality itself. Yet, it also reminds you of the delicate balance between control and surrender, like holding a bird in your hands. Too tightly and you lose it, too lightly and it drifts away. Lucid dreaming invites you to explore the layers of your mind with curiosity and kindness, offering glimpses of who you are beneath the surface. Asterisk, you step into a gallery, surrounded by towering masterpieces, their colors humming with life, their stories whispering in the quiet air, and suddenly your breath catches, your heart races, your vision blurs, and the world tilts just slightly, as if the weight of all that beauty has become too much to hold. This is Stendhal syndrome, a rare but deeply human response to art so overwhelming it leaves you dizzy, as though your soul has stumbled into a river of emotion too wide to cross. It's as if the artist's hand reached across time and brushed against your heart, leaving you trembling in its wake. Some say it's the mind's way of surrendering, like a cup that overflows when filled too quickly. But there's something tender in it, too, a reminder that beauty isn't always gentle. Sometimes it crashes over you like a wave, leaving you changed in its quiet aftermath. If you've ever felt this, you're not alone. It's proof, perhaps, that art isn't just something we see, but something that sees us, too. Asterisk, you might wonder how someone could grow attached to a person who harms them, like a flower bending toward the faintest light, even in the darkest room. Stockholm Syndrome isn't about weakness or confusion. It's the mind's quiet way of surviving when escape feels impossible. Imagine being caught in a storm where the only shelter is the very thing that frightens you. Over time, your fear softens into a strange gratitude, not because the danger is gone, but because your survival depends on it. The heart clings to kindness, however small, like a lifeline in deep water. When control is stripped away, the mind seeks connection, even with those who wield power unfairly, because isolation feels more terrifying than the uneven dance of mercy and cruelty. It's not love, not truly, but a fragile bridge built by desperation, one that makes the unbearable just light enough to carry. And in that fragile space, the heart learns to whisper, "You are not alone here," even when it isn't safe to speak aloud. Asterisk, you're sitting across from someone you've known for years. Their face, their voice, even the way they laugh is exactly as it should be, and yet something feels deeply, unsettlingly wrong. It's as if the person you love has been replaced by a perfect stranger wearing their skin, a mirror image that somehow lacks the warmth of the original. This is the heart of Capgras delusion, a mystery where the mind, like a careful but confused detective, insists that the people closest to you are imposters, even when every logical clue says otherwise. It's not about forgetting who they are. It's as if the emotional thread that ties you to them has been quietly snipped, leaving you adrift in a sea of familiar yet alien faces. Scientists believe it might stem from a disconnect between the parts of the brain that recognize faces and those that stir feelings of connection, like a bridge standing intact but with no one left to cross it. Yet, even in this strangeness, there's a kind of fragile logic. The mind, ever protective, tries to make sense of the world, even when its compass spins wildly. And perhaps that's the most human thing of all, our relentless need to find meaning, even when the answer slips like mist through our fingers. You sit there, staring at the task you've been avoiding for days, weeks, maybe beyond, though you know it matters. Something invisible holds you back. It's not laziness, not really. It's more like standing at the edge of a pool, unsure if the water is too cold or too deep, so you just keep dipping your toes in, hesitating. Procrastination, especially the extreme kind, is often a dance with fear of failure, of not being good enough, or even fear of succeeding and the changes that might bring. Your mind, clever as it is, finds ways to distract you, turning small chores into urgent escapes, because anything feels safer than facing that one looming thing. But here's the quiet truth. The weight of the undone task is always heavier than the doing itself. Think of it like a backpack you refuse to unpack, growing heavier with each step, when all it takes is sitting down, opening it, and pulling out one thing at a time. You're not broken, you're just human, and every small step forward is a gentle rebellion against the paralysis of waiting for the right moment that may never come. Asterisk. You've probably heard those stories. Mountaineers lost in blinding snowstorms, sailors adrift at sea, explorers alone in the desert who swear they felt the presence of someone else with them, offering guidance, comfort, even survival advice when all hope seemed lost. This phenomenon, called the third man factor, is like a whisper in the chaos, a hand reaching out when you're teetering on the edge of despair. It's not always a person, not always a voice. Sometimes it's just a knowing, a sudden clarity that feels like it comes from outside yourself. Imagine standing in a storm, the wind howling, the world reduced to a blur of white, and then, out of nowhere, a calm, steady presence steps beside you, as real as the ground beneath your feet. Scientists and thinkers have puzzled over it for years, calling it a trick of the mind, a survival mechanism, or perhaps something more profound. Whatever it is, it feels like grace. Like the world reminding you that even in your loneliest moments, you're not truly alone. It's a mystery, yes, but also a quiet reassurance that help can come in the most unexpected forms, even when you least expect it. Asterisk, you may have noticed how sometimes your mind feels like a clockwork mechanism, ticking with thoughts and routines that keep you grounded in a world that can feel uncertain. Obsessive-compulsive disorder, at its core, is like that mechanism working overtime, where the gears of worry and compulsion spin faster than they're meant to. It's not just about cleanliness or order, though those can be part of it, as if your brain is trying to protect you by clinging to rituals or repetitive thoughts, like a life raft in a stormy sea. These patterns often stem from deep-seated fears of harm, of imperfection, of losing control in the mind. In its quiet desperation, seeks comfort in actions it believes will keep chaos at bay. Think of it like a parent, gently but firmly, holding a child's hand even when the grip feels too tight. What's important to remember is that this isn't a flaw or weakness. It's your mind's way of trying to care for you, even if it's not always the most helpful. With understanding and patience, it's possible to gently loosen that grip, finding space for calm and balance again. You're not alone in this, and there's always room for healing. Asterisk, you've probably felt it before, that moment when your mind drifts off effortlessly, like a leaf carried by a gentle stream, leaving the chatter of the world behind. It's not quite sleep, not quite wakefulness, but something in between. As if you've stepped into a quiet room within yourself. These spontaneous hypnotic trances are mysterious, aren't they? They can happen anywhere, staring out a window, lost in the rhythm of your breath, or even amidst a conversation when suddenly everything feels distant and soft. It's as though your thoughts fold inward, like petals closing at dusk, and you're left floating in a space that feels both empty and full. Some might call it zoning out, but it's more than that. It's a natural, gentle retreat, a way for your mind to recalibrate without you even realizing it. There's a beauty in it, a kind of surrender that reminds you how much of life unfolds without your conscious effort. And perhaps that's the mystery. These moments aren't something you do. They're something you allow, like trusting the tide to pull you softly back to shore. They're a quiet reminder that sometimes the most profound experiences happen when you simply let go. Asterisk, you've probably felt it before, that strange, electric ripple that moves through a crowd, pulling everyone into the same current of emotion or belief, even if they don't quite understand why. Mass hysteria is like that, a collective wave of anxiety or excitement that sweeps people along, often without them realizing it's happening. Picture it as a fire spreading through dry grass. One spark, one rumor, one unexplained event can ignite a chain reaction, fueled by the shared need to make sense of something uncertain. What's fascinating is how quickly logic fades in the face of confusion, replaced by a primal urge to connect, to belong, to follow. It's not about weakness or gullibility, it's about our deep-seated desire to feel safe in an unsafe world. In those moments, doubt becomes contagious. Uncertainty feels like a lifeline, even if it's built on shaky ground. Yet, understanding this doesn't make us powerless. When you step back, take a breath, and notice the patterns, you can see the wave for what it is, a temporary storm, not the ocean itself. And in that awareness, there's room to choose to let the current carry you or to anchor yourself in. Calm. Asterisk, you've felt it before, that heavy, sinking weight in your chest, like a slow tide pulling you under, turning the world around you a shade of blue you can't quite name. It's more than sadness. It's a quiet, persistent whisper that lingers in the corners of your mind, coloring even the brightest moments with a faint, melancholic hue. Think of it as a fog rolling in, not to obscure, but to soften everything, muting the sharp edges of joy until even laughter feels distant, like an echo from another room. This blue phenomenon isn't just about feeling down. It's a deeper, almost sacred kind of ache. One that reminds you how deeply you're capable of feeling. And though it may seem endless, like a winter that refuses to thaw, it's also a signer, quiet nudge from your heart, asking for gentleness, for time, for the space to heal. You're not alone in this. Even the bluest skies eventually give way to light, and so will you. Asterisk, you might think of savant syndrome as a hidden door in the vast house of the mind. A door that, when opened, reveals extraordinary abilities tucked away where you least expect them. Picture someone who struggles with everyday tasks, yet can effortlessly paint a masterpiece. Recall every detail of a book after a single reading, or calculate complex equations in seconds. As if their brain has its own secret language. It's like a symphony where most instruments play softly, but one, let's say, a violin sings with such brilliance that it leaves everyone in awe. These abilities often appear alongside challenges like autism or other developmental differences, which makes them all the more intriguing. It's not about being better or worse, but about how the mind finds its own unique rhythm, its own way to make sense of the world. Savant syndrome invites us to see that brilliance can emerge in unexpected forms, reminding us that every mind has its own quiet magic. It's a gentle nudge to look beyond the surface and appreciate the extraordinary in the ordinary, like finding a single perfect flower in a wild, untamed garden. Asterisk, you sit there, perhaps wondering how something as simple as moving your hand could ever feel foreign, like it's no longer yours. Imagine waking up one day to find that your own hand, your familiar, trusted hand, has a mind of its own. It moves without your permission, picking up objects, reaching for things, or even resisting your conscious commands. This is the mystery of alien hand syndrome, a rare and deeply unsettling condition where the connection between your brain and your hand feels severed, as though it's been handed off to an unseen puppeteer. It's like watching a shadow on the wall that dances independently of the light that casts it. Doctors believe it happens when the two halves of the brain normally, in harmonious communication, lose their connection, leaving one side to act on its own. Yet, even in its strangeness, there's something profoundly human about this condition. It reminds us how fragile our sense of control truly is, how much of our lives is woven together by delicate threads we often take for granted, and while it may feel isolating, it's also a testament to the resilience of the mind, always searching for ways to adapt, to understand, to find balance again. Asterisk. You're sitting there, wondering why this moment feels so familiar, like a page from a book you've read before, though you're certain you haven't. That's Dacia Vacu, the uncanny sense that you've already lived this experience, not just glimpsed it in passing. It's as if your mind, for just a heartbeat, slips out of time and into a shadow of a memory that doesn't quite exist. Scientists think it happens when your brain's usual rhythm of recording and recalling gets momentarily tangled, like two threads crossing in a loom. The present moment gets woven into the past, and suddenly everything feels like an echo. But there's something gentle in this glitch, isn't there? It's not a flaw so much as a reminder of how fluid memory can be, how easily our minds blur the edges between what's real and what's almost remembered. You're not losing time. You're just brushing against its seams, like running your fingers over a well-worn path and feeling the grooves of countless footsteps before yours. It's fleeting, harmless, and strangely comforting proof that even in the most ordinary moments, your mind can still surprise you. Asterisk. You've probably had that strange feeling before, an idea strikes you as brilliantly original, only to realize later it wasn't yours at all. Maybe it was a melody you swore you composed, a story you thought you dreamed up, or even a vivid memory that turns out to belong to someone else. This is cryptomnesia, the hidden trick of the mind where forgotten memories resurface, disguised as fresh inspiration. Like finding a letter you wrote long ago and mistaking it for something new. The brain sometimes tucks away experiences, only to present them later as its own creation. It's not deception, it's simply how our minds work, weaving threads of the past into the present without us noticing. Think of it as a quiet librarian in your subconscious, shelving books you've read but don't remember until one day. You pull one down and marvel at the words, unaware they were ever borrowed. It's humbling, isn't it? Even our most personal thoughts can be echoes of things we've absorbed and forgotten. But rather than unsettling, perhaps it's comforting to know how deeply connected we are to the world, how every idea is a conversation across time, and how even our forgetfulness can lead us somewhere new. Asterisk, you find yourself standing at the edge of a quiet pond, watching as the slightest breeze sends ripples across the water, small at first, then growing, shifting the reflection of the sky. That's how extreme suggestibility works in the mind. A gentle idea, whispered or implied, can ripple through your thoughts, reshaping what you see and believe without you even noticing. It's not about weakness. It's about how our brains, like still water, are designed to respond to the world around them. When someone speaks with certainty or repeats an idea like a familiar melody, it can sink deep, blending with your own voice until it's hard to tell where their words end and yours begin. This is why stories, rumors, or even a friend's offhand comment can sometimes take root so easily, like seeds tossed into fertile soil. But here's the comforting truth. Awareness is the sunlight that helps you see those ripples for what they are. When you pause, breathe, and ask yourself, asterisk, is this really me? Asterisk, you reclaim the calm surface of your own mind, undisturbed by currents you didn't choose. Asterisk, you might find yourself wondering how two minds can drift so closely together that they begin to share the same unreality, as if their thoughts were shadows cast by the same unseen light. Folie à deux, or shared delusions, is like a dance in which both partners move to a rhythm only they can hear, each step reinforcing the other's belief in a world that doesn't exist for anyone else. It often begins in isolation, where the boundaries between self and other blur, and one person's conviction becomes a bridge for the second to cross into the same imagined landscape. Think of it as a whispered story that grows louder with every retelling until it feels more real than the silence around them. This phenomenon reminds us how deeply human connection can shape our perception. Like the way a mirror reflects not just your face, but the emotions etched upon it. It's not a weakness or a flaw, a testament to how powerfully we influence one another, for better or worse. And in that shared unreality, there's a strange kind of solace, a quiet agreement that even if the world doesn't see it, they're not alone in their belief. Asterisk, you find yourself standing at the edge of an inner ocean, its depths both inviting and unfathomable, as your mind turns inward with a clarity that feels almost like a superpower. This ability to reflect so deeply isn't just about thinking, it's like holding a mirror to your soul, where every glance reveals another layer, another shadow, another spark of light. It can be overwhelming, like wandering through a vast library where every book is written in your own handwriting. But it's also a gift, a quiet companionship with yourself, that few ever fully embrace. You notice the subtle shifts in your emotions, the way thoughts ripple like stones dropped into still water, and you begin to understand patterns others might miss. Yet, with this depth comes a tenderness like tending a delicate garden, where too much scrutiny can bruise the petals. But here's the gentle truth. This introspective ability isn't meant to trap you in endless analysis. It's a lantern guiding you toward kindness, both for yourself and the world. One quiet insight at a time. Asterisk, you've probably felt it, that odd, almost electric sensation in your legs when you're trying to relax, as if they have a mind of their own. It's like your limbs are whispering, move me, even when your body craves stillness. This is what's often called the restless leg phenomenon, and it's both fascinating and a little mysterious. Think of it as a gentle tug of war between your body's need for rest and an invisible force nudging you to act. It's not painful, but it's persistent, like a faint itch you can't quite scratch. Scientists believe it might be linked to how your brain communicates with your nerves, or perhaps tied to something as simple as low iron levels or the rhythm of your day. Imagine your legs as a pair of storytellers, quietly expressing something your body hasn't yet put into words, whether it's fatigue, stress, or even an unspoken craving for movement. The good news, it's usually nothing to worry about. And simple things like stretching, massaging, or even a warm bath can help soothe those restless whispers. It's a reminder, really, that our bodies have their own ways of speaking to us, quietly guiding us toward balance. Asterisk, you've probably noticed how some people seem to dance on the edge of life, stepping into situations that make most of us pause, where the ground feels unsure and the air feels thin. It's not just thrill-seeking for the sake of adrenaline. It's deeper than that. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, feeling both fear and a strange pull toward the unknowns. Is the psychological tug-of-war that drives extreme risk-taking. For some, it's a way to feel truly alive, to escape the monotony of everyday life and touch something raw and unfiltered. It's as if they're searching for a moment where the world slows down and everything becomes intensely clear, like a single note ringing out in silence. But there's also a quiet vulnerability beneath it all, a need to test limits, to prove something maybe to themselves, maybe to others. It's not reckless, it's a calculated gamble with the self, a way to confront fear and say, I can handle this. And in that moment, win or lose, they find a kind of freedom, a reminder that life is both fragile and vast, like a stormy sea that somehow feels like home. Asterisk, you find yourself sitting in the dim glow of evening, turning over a curious thought. How is it that sometimes, without warning, the mind slips backward like a leaf carried on a slow stream, drifting into memories so vivid they feel alive again? It's as if time folds in on itself, and for a moment, you're not just recalling a moment from the past, but reliving it. The sensations crisp, the emotions raw, as though you've stepped through a hidden door in your mind. This spontaneous hypnotic regression isn't something to fear. It's the mind's gentle way of sifting through what still needs attention, like sunlight filtering through trees to illuminate forgotten corners. Perhaps it's a sign that some part of you is ready to heal, or maybe it's simply the soul's quiet reminder of where you've been and how far you've come. Either way, these moments are invitations, not interruptions, offering clarity wrapped in the softest whispers of memory. And just as the tide returns to shore, you'll always find your way back, carrying with you what matters most. You might find yourself standing on the edge of a vast, still lake, watching the water's surface remain untouched by even the faintest ripple. That's what extreme emotional detachment can feel like, a quiet, deliberate pause from the world's currents, where feelings seem to float somewhere far away, almost out of reach. It's not always about coldness or indifference. Sometimes it's more like putting up a glass wall between yourself and the storm, seeking shelter when everything feels too loud or too raw. For some, it's a survival mechanism, a way to protect the heart when it feels too fragile to bear the weight of pain. But over time, that wall can become harder to see through, leaving the world on the other side muted and distant, like a landscape blurred by fog. There's a certain peace in detachment, a relief from the chaos. Yet it can also make life feel as though it's happening to someone else, as if you're observing it from a quiet, far-off corner. The challenge, perhaps, is learning when to let the glass crack, just enough to let the light and the warmth back in. Asterisk. You've probably heard it before, cascade of sounds that don't belong to any language you know, spilling from someone's lips like a river breaking free from its banks. Glossolalia, or speaking in tongues, is one of those mysteries that feels both ancient and deeply personal, like a secret whispered between the soul and something greater. It's not about making sense in the way we usually expect. It's more like a melody without words, a feeling given voice. Think of it as a kind of surrender, like letting go of the steering wheel and trusting the road to take you where it will. For those who experience it, it's often described as a profound release, as if something inside them has been waiting patiently for the chance to speak. And yet, for the listener, it can feel like standing at the edge of a forest, hearing the wind move through the trees but not quite understanding the language it's speaking. There's comfort in that, though, in knowing that some things are beyond our need to dissect or explain. Maybe it's not about solving the mystery, but simply letting it be, like a quiet reminder that there's always more to the world and to ourselves than we can ever fully grasp. Asterisk. You might imagine extreme sensory deprivation as stepping into a vast silent cave, one where the walls absorb every sound and the air feels heavy with stillness. In such a space, where light, sound, and touch are stripped away, the mind begins to wander in ways it rarely does otherwise. At first, the silence can feel freeing, like shedding layers of noise you didn't realize you were carrying. But as time stretches on, that freedom can shift into something deeper, more unsettling. Without external input, your thoughts become louder, more vivid, almost tangible, like stars appearing in a night sky once obscured by city lights. You might find yourself confronting parts of your own mind you've kept hidden, memories or emotions rising to the surface like bubbles in a still pond. Some people describe profound clarity or unexpected creativity in these moments, as though their minds, unanchored by distractions, drift into uncharted waters. Others feel disoriented, as if the absence of sensory anchors leaves them adrift. Yet, there's a quiet truth in this experience. It reminds us how much of our identity is shaped by the world around us, and how deeply we rely on it to keep us grounded. Even in the silence, you're still you, just different, perhaps, for having been there. Asterisk, you felt it before, that faint, ghostly buzz in your pocket, the one that sends your hand darting to your phone, only to find the screen dark and still. It's as if your nerves have played a quiet trick on you, a whisper of anticipation mistaken for reality. This phantom vibration is a curious thing, isn't it? Like an echo of habit, a ripple in the pond of your attention, where your body has learned to expect a signal so deeply that it sometimes conjures one from nothing. It's not just your imagination. It's your mind and body dancing to the rhythm of modern life, where connection is constant and silence feels almost startling. Think of it as a gentle reminder of how attuned you've become to the world around you. Like a sailor who still feels the sway of the sea long after stepping onto solid ground. There's no need to fret, simply your way of staying ready, of keeping one foot in the stream of conversation even when the water is calm. And in those moments, when the buzz turns out to be just a passing thought, you might even smile, knowing how wonderfully human it is to listen for voices in the quiet. Asterisk, you find yourself lingering in the glow of old photographs, or perhaps a familiar song sweeps you back to a moment long gone, wrapping you in warmth like a well-worn sweater. Extreme nostalgia is more than just fond remembrance, it's a quiet tug-of-war between the heart and the present, a longing to return to a time that feels simpler, safer, or more vivid than now. It's as if your mind keeps a scrapbook of treasured moments, but sometimes the pages stick together and you lose yourself between them. This isn't just about missing the past, it's about seeking refuge in it, like stepping into a sunlit room while the world outside feels uncertain. Yet nostalgia, even when it aches, reminds you of what once mattered: the laughter, the connections, the small joys that shaped you. The trick is not to let it become a place where you live, but a place you visit, drawing strength from the memories without letting them dim the light of today. After all, the past is a gentle guide, not an anchor. It's there to remind you how far you've come, not to keep you from moving forward. Asterisk, you might have found yourself in a conversation where someone swears, absolutely knows, that a childhood memory or a line from a movie is one way, only to discover it's entirely different. It's as if reality bent for a moment, leaving you both scratching your heads. This is the heart of the Mandela effect, a strange phenomenon where large groups of people share vivid yet incorrect memories. It's like standing in a forest, certain you've seen a particular tree, only to realize it's not where you remember it being. Some explain it as quirks of the brain, like trails of thoughts getting tangled in the fog of time. Others see it as something more mysterious, a ripple in the fabric of our collective consciousness. Whatever the cause, it's oddly comforting, in a way, to know that memory isn't a perfect mirror, but more like a flowing stream, shaping and reshaping itself. It reminds us that even our most certain truths can hold surprises, and that shared human experience is far more fluid than we might think. So the next time someone insists something happened a certain way, maybe it's less about being right and more about the curious, ever-shifting nature of how we remember. Asterisk, you're sitting in a quiet room when suddenly a voice whispers your name as Dave, and though no one else is there. At first, it might startle you, like a shadow darting at the edge of your vision. But for some, these sounds don't fade. They grow louder, more persistent, weaving themselves into the fabric of everyday life until it's hard to tell what's real and what isn't. Imagine your mind as a radio, picking up stations no one else can hear. Some voices, gentle, others harsh, all of them deeply personal. These extreme auditory hallucinations aren't just about hearing things. They're about how the mind, under stress or illness, can sometimes turn inward, mistaking its own echoes for the outside world. It's as if the walls between thought and perception thin, letting the quiet hum of your inner world spill over. But here's the thing. Even in the midst of this, there's a kind of logic, a way the mind tries to make sense of itself, and understanding that can be the first step toward finding calm, like learning to sit with the static until it softens into something you can carry. Asterisk. You've probably stood in front of a mirror long enough to feel like the reflection staring back isn't quite you. It's familiar, yet somehow strange, like a half-remembered dream. This subtle disconnection, often called the face in the mirror phenomenon, is one of those quiet mysteries that linger in the corners of your mind. It's as if the mirror becomes a window, not just to your appearance, but to something, deeper fleeting sense of self that's hard to pin down. The longer you look, the more your face seems to shift, like soft clouds reforming in the sky, making you wonder who you really are beneath the surface. It's not something to fear, though in fact, it's a gentle reminder of how complex and fluid our sense of identity can be. The mirror doesn't lie, but it doesn't tell the whole truth either. It simply offers a moment to pause and consider the layers of who we are, like peeling back the pages of a well-loved book. In that stillness, there's a kind of beauty, a quiet invitation to wonder and appreciate the mystery of being you. Asterisk. You wake up one morning and, as you go through your day, a strange sensation keeps tugging at the edges of your mind, almost as if you've lived this exact moment before, down to the smallest detail. The feeling isn't fleeting. It lingers, repeats, weaving itself into your thoughts like a thread you can't quite pull free. This, you realize, is more than the occasional déjà vu you've brushed off before it's a rhythm. A pattern that feels both familiar and unsettling. It's as though life is playing the same song on loop, and you're caught in its melody, trying to decipher the notes. Yet, instead of fear, there's a quiet curiosity that settles within you, like watching ripples on a calm pond. You wonder if your mind is trying to tell you something, or if it's simply finding comfort in the repetition, like a child tracing the same line in the sand. Either way, it's not a flaw or a mistake. It's a gentle reminder of how deeply connected our inner and outer worlds can be, how even the seemingly ordinary can hold layers of meaning if we pause to listen. And in that pause, you find a curious sense of reassurance, as though the universe is whispering, asterisk, I've been here before, and so have you. Asterisk, you're sitting in a dim room, half dozing, when a face vivid yet unfamiliar flashes behind your closed eyelids, vanishing before you can grasp it. Or maybe you're staring at the sky, and for just a breath, the clouds arrange themselves into a shape you swear you've seen before, only to dissolve into nonsense the moment you blink. These fleeting images, like fireflies in the mind, are echoes of something deeper, your brain stitching together fragments of memory, imagination, and the quiet hum of subconscious thought. They're not quite dreams, not quite daydreams, but whispers from the edges of perception, as if your mind is idly shuffling through a deck of half-forgotten cards. There's no need to chase them. They're not puzzles to solve, but gentle reminders of how fluid and creative your inner world can be. Like ripples on a pond, they appear, linger for a heartbeat, and then fade, leaving only the quiet certainty that your mind is always weaving stories, even when you're not paying attention. And isn't that a lovely mystery to carry with you? Asterisk, you're sitting there, lost in a moment that feels eerily familiar, as if time has folded back on itself and you're reliving a fragment of your life down to the smallest detail. The way the light slants through the window, the faint hum of the refrigerator, even the weight of your breath in your chest. It's more than déjà vu. It's as though you've stepped into a memory that hasn't happened yet, and the intensity of it leaves you unsettled, like missing a stair in the dark. This isn't just your mind playing tricks, it's a glimpse into how deeply your brain stitches together perception, memory, and expectation, weaving them so tightly that sometimes the threads tangle. Think of it like a river that occasionally loops back on itself, creating a quiet eddy where past and present swirl together. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. In fact, it's a reminder of how richly your mind constructs reality, how delicate the balance is between recognizing and reliving. So when it happens again, don't fight it. Let it pass like a shadow across water, knowing it's just your brain in its endless creativity, painting over the same canvas twice. Asterisk, you felt it before, that fleeting moment when the fog lifts and everything suddenly makes sense. It's like stepping into a sunlit clearing after wandering through a dense forest where the path ahead is unmistakable, even if just for a heartbeat. This sudden clarity phenomenon isn't magic, though it can feel that way. It's your mind quietly rearranging the pieces you've been turning over for days, weeks, or even years, until they finally click into place. Think of it as a mental sigh of relief, a whisper from your deeper self saying, asterisk, oh, that's how it works. Asterisk, these moments often arrive when you least expect them, while washing dishes, staring out a window, or drifting towards sleep, as if your thoughts needed stillness to settle like sand in clear water. And though the insight may fade, the reassurance lingers. You're capable of seeing things anew, of finding answers in the quiet spaces between effort and surrender. It's a gentle reminder that understanding doesn't always come from force, but sometimes from letting go and allowing the light in. Asterisk, you've probably felt it's that eerie sensation of familiarity, like a tune you can't quite place, when everything around you seems to echo a moment you swear you've lived before. Extreme déjà vu can feel like stepping into a room where the walls hum with whispers of a story you've already heard, yet can't quite recall. It's as if your mind is a gentle stream, momentarily catching a ripple from some deeper current, blending past and present in a way that feels both comforting and disorienting. Psychologists suggest it might be a glitch in the brain's memory system, where a fleeting moment is mistakenly tagged as something old, like a book misfiled on the wrong shelf. But it's more than just a hiccup, it's a reminder of how deeply intertwined our perceptions and memories are. Like threads in a tapestry we're still learning to read. There's something quietly profound about it, as if it nudges us to pause and wonder about the layers of our experiences, the quiet echoes of our own lives. In those moments, it's okay to feel a little unsettled. It's just your mind, tenderly knitting together the fabric of your world, stitch by stitch. Asterisk, you've probably felt it before, those unaccounted for moments when time seems to slip through your fingers like sand, leaving you wondering where it all went. One minute, you're lost in thought, staring out the window at the slow dance of clouds, and the next, the clock hands have moved far beyond where you expected, as if they'd taken a secret detour without you. It's not quite daydreaming, not quite forgetfulness, but something softer, like the quiet hum of a distant radio you only half hear. Scientists call it time blindness, but it feels more like a gentle tug from the universe, reminding you that not everything needs to be measured or understood. Maybe it's your mind's way of stealing back a few precious seconds from the rush of life, a hidden pocket of stillness where thoughts can wander without hurry. However it happens, there's no need to chase the missing minutes. They were never really lost, just spent in a way that didn't leave footprints. And sometimes, that's exactly where they needed to be. Asterisk, you've probably had that fleeting moment where everything feels eerily familiar, like a scene from a dream you can't quite place. Extreme déjà vu, though, is like stepping into a loop where the present feels like an echo of something that shouldn't exist, yet a strange, almost haunting repetition. It's as if your mind is flipping through pages of a book it's already read, yet you know you've never seen this story before. Psychologically, it's a fascinating dance between memory and perception, where your brain momentarily gets tangled in its own threads. Some say it's a glitch in the way we process time, like a skipping record that briefly replays a moment before moving forward. Others see it as a sign of heightened awareness, a whisper from your subconscious pulling you deeper into the present. It can feel unsettling, but it's also a reminder of how intricate and mysterious our minds are, weaving together past, present, and possibility in ways we don't fully understand. In those moments of déjà vu, you're not lost, you're stepping into a quiet, curious nook of your own consciousness, where everything feels both strange and beautifully familiar. Asterisk, you've felt it before, that quiet spark in your mind when the answer to a problem suddenly appears, as if it had been waiting just beyond the edges of your thoughts. It's like walking through a dense forest, searching for a path, when all at once the trees part, and the way forward becomes clear. Scientists call this the sudden insight phenomenon, but it's something far more personal than a term can capture. It's the moment when your subconscious, working silently behind the scenes, finally hands you the missing piece of the puzzle. You might have been staring at the same question for hours, or even days, only to have the solution arrive when you least expect it, while washing dishes, taking a walk, or drifting off to sleep. It's a reminder that your mind is always weaving connections, even when you're not actively trying. And though it may feel mysterious, even magical, it's really just the beautiful way your brain honors the quiet work of patience and trust. So the next time you're stuck, take a breath and step back. The answer may already be on its way, like a letter slipping gently under your door. Asterisk. You're sitting there, wondering, perhaps even a little unsettled, about that strange feeling of déjà vu that seems to loop endlessly, like a song stuck in your head. It's as though you've lived this moment before, not just once, but again and again, like a ripple that keeps returning to the same spot in the pond. You're not alone in this. It's a curious phenomenon, this extreme déjà vu, where the familiarity feels so thick, so insistent, that it almost borders on the surreal. Imagine your mind as a library, where every moment you experience is carefully filed away. What happens, then, when your brain misfiles a new experience, placing it in the already lived section instead of the present? It's like a glitch, a gentle stutter in the rhythm of your thoughts. But here's the comforting part. It's not a sign of something wrong, but rather a reminder of how beautifully complex your mind is. It's as if your awareness, for just a moment, steps out of time, marveling at its own ability to weave memory and perception together. Embrace it as a strange and fleeting gift, a whisper from your mind, reminding you of the mystery of being alive. Asterisk, you've probably had that odd fleeting moment where you see someone who feels familiar, though you can't quite place them, a face in the crowd, a passerby on the street, or someone at the coffee shop. It's like a thread of recognition tugging at your memory, but when you try to pull it, it unravels into nothing. This is the familiar stranger phenomenon, and it's a curious little quirk of how our minds work. Imagine your brain as a librarian, tirelessly cataloging faces and experiences, but occasionally misplacing a file. That person you feel you've seen before might simply share a similarity with someone you know, or they've crossed paths with you in the background of your life without ever really entering it. There's something comforting in it, isn't there? Like the world is smaller, more connected, even if just by chance. It's a reminder that we're all part of this shared tapestry, weaving in and out of each other's lives, often without even knowing it. So next time it happens, pause and smile. It's a little mystery, a gentle nudge from the universe that says, you're not alone. Asterisk, you sit there, caught in that strange loop where the present feels like an echo of something you've already lived, not just once, but over and over, like a ripple circling back to its source. It's unsettling, isn't it? That flicker of familiarity, so sharp it almost hums, as if your mind is tracing the edges of a memory that doesn't quite exist. Think of it like a record skipping, replaying the same note until the sound blurs into something new yet achingly familiar. Extreme déjà vu isn't just a glitch. It's a quiet reminder of how your brain stitches time together, weaving threads of perception and memory so tightly that sometimes they tangle. You're not losing your grip, you're just noticing the seams, the places where your mind reaches for patterns even when they aren't there. And in that noticing, there's a kind of comfort, like realizing you're both the storyteller and the listener in a tale that's still unfolding. So take a breath. It's just your mind, humming its old, familiar tune, trying to make sense of the mystery of now. Asterisk, you're sitting there, lost in thought, when suddenly it hits you a wave of familiarity so intense it feels like time has folded back on itself. Not just once, but again and again, like an echo bouncing endlessly down a hallway. This strange sensation, the sudden déjà vu, is like your mind briefly stumbling over its own footsteps, tripping into a loop where everything feels eerily repeated, even the déjà vu itself. It's as if your brain, for just a moment, becomes a scratched record, skipping over the same few notes in a dizzying spiral. But there's no need to worry. It's not a glitch in reality, just a quirk of memory and perception, a fleeting hiccup in the way your thoughts align, like catching your reflection in a series of mirrors, each image slightly fainter. The feeling dissolves as quickly as it came, leaving you with nothing but a quiet wonder. These moments remind us how beautifully complex our minds are, how they can weave such vivid illusions, yet still gently guide us back to the present, like a soft hand on your shoulder, steadying you after a brief, bewildering dream. Asterisk, you sit there, caught in that strange loop where the present feels like an echo of something already lived. Not once, but over and over, like a skipping record or a hallway of mirrors reflecting the same moment endlessly. It's unsettling, isn't it? That tug between familiarity and mystery, as if your mind is trying to solve a riddle it wrote itself. But here's the quiet truth. Déjà vu isn't a glitch or a prophesied, more like your brain's way of checking its own map. A fleeting stumble between memory and perception, like mistaking a shadow for a face. Think of it as a gentle reminder that your mind is vast, layered, and sometimes plays tricks to make sense of time's fluidity. There's comfort in knowing you're not alone in this. It's a shared human quirk, a whisper of how we stitch together past and present. So next time it happens, pause, breathe, and let it pass like a cloud, interesting to watch, but never meant to linger. After all, the beauty of the moment is that it's always new, even when it feels strangely familiar. Asterisk, you're sitting there, sipping your tea, when suddenly it hits you that odd feeling of déjà vu, but layered, as if you're not just reliving a moment, but reliving the déjà vu itself, like a dream folding in on itself. It's unsettling, isn't it? Yet there's something comforting in its familiarity, like finding an old photograph you didn't know you had. This sudden déjà vu Déjà vu phenomenon is like your mind's way of playing a gentle trick on itself, a ripple in the pond of your thoughts where the water seems to dance in circles without ever settling. It's not something to fear. Instead, think of it as a quiet reminder of how deeply layered your mind is, how it can weave memories and perceptions into something new yet somehow known. It's like walking through a forest and suddenly recognizing a tree you've never seen before, yet it feels like home. These moments are fleeting, but they leave a trace, a soft echo that lingers, inviting you to pause and wonder at the mystery of your own inner world. So next time it happens, take a deep breath and let it pass, like a cloud drifting across the sky, knowing it's all part of the quiet, beautiful complexity of being you. Asterisk, you know that feeling when you're caught in a loop, like walking through a familiar room only to realize you've been here before, except you haven't. It's as if your mind is replaying a scene, but the echo keeps bouncing back, softer each time, yet endlessly present. This is the curious dance of extreme déjà vu, where moments fold into themselves like pages of a well-loved book, worn thin from revisiting. It's not just memory, it's a sensation, a whisper that insists you've lived this exact moment, though logic tells you otherwise. Imagine standing on a bridge, watching a river flow beneath you, and feeling like you've stood there countless times, even though it's your first visit. There's something both comforting and unsettling in that, like recognizing a face in a crowd, but never quite placing it. Extreme déjà vu can feel like a glitch in the fabric of time, a fleeting reminder that our minds are vast and mysterious landscapes. Yet, it also invites us to pause, to notice the layers of our experience, and to marvel at how our consciousness stitches the threads of past, present, and perception into something achingly familiar, entirely new. Asterisk, you're sitting there, lost in thought, when suddenly it hits you a flicker of familiarity so intense it loops back on itself, like an echo chasing its own tail. Asterisk, déjà vu. The world feels like a page you've read before, but the words keep repeating, folding in on themselves, like a ripple in a pond that never quite settles. It's not just the odd sense of having been here before, it's the uncanny feeling that even that feeling is familiar, as if your mind is tracing circles in the sand, only to find its own footprints already there. Scientists say it's a hiccup in memory, a momentary tangle between what's new and what's remembered. But in that fleeting instant, it's something more like catching a glimpse of the hidden stitching that holds reality together, and though it fades as quickly as it comes, there's comfort in its mystery. A quiet reminder that even the most ordinary moments can hold whispers of something deeper, something just beyond the edges of understanding. You're not alone in wondering. You're just brushing against one of life's gentle, unanswered questions. Asterisk. You know that feeling when you're walking through a place you've never been before, yet every detail feels like something you've lived 100 times. Extreme déjà vu is like that, but it doesn't just brush past you. It lingers, wrapping itself around your thoughts like a vivid dream you can't quite shake. It's as if your mind is tracing the same path over and over, like a needle stuck in a groove on a record, playing the same notes again and again. Some say it's a glitch in the brain, a momentary overlap of memories and perceptions, but it feels deeper than that, almost like you're catching a glimpse of something timeless, a thread connecting you to another version of yourself or another moment entirely. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, calm lake, seeing ripples that echo both behind and ahead of you. It's disorienting, but also strangely comforting, as though you're part of something larger than the present. It's not something to fear, though. It's a reminder of how complex and mysterious our minds are, how they can slip into spaces that feel both familiar and unexplored. In those moments, you're not just living, you're remembering, sensing, and perhaps, just for a second, seeing the world through a different lens. Asterisk, you're sitting there, your mind adrift, when suddenly a strange sensation unfolds. Like walking into a room you've never entered, but feeling as though you've lived in it forever. It's déjà vu, that uncanny whisper of familiarity in an unfamiliar moment. But then, it spirals not just once, but again and again, like a ripple in a pond echoing endlessly. This is the oddity of sudden déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu, where the experience itself seems to loop, as if you're not just remembering the moment, but also remembering it. It's like looking into a mirror reflecting another mirror, a cascade of reflections that leaves you questioning where the original image began. Scientists might say it's a glitch in the brain's memory circuits, a fleeting confusion between the present and the past. But in that moment, it feels deeper, almost mystical, as though you've brushed against the edges of something vast and unknowable. It's not alarming, though it's more like a gentle reminder of how intricate and mysterious your mind truly is. A quiet hum of wonder in the ordinary rhythm of life. And when it passes, you're left with a soft curiosity, a sense of having glimpsed something fleeting yet profound. Asterisk. You've felt it before, that strange, almost haunting sensation, where a moment seems to loop endlessly, as if you've lived it already, not just once, but multiple times, folding in on itself like a ripple caught in a still pond. Extreme déjà vu can feel like stepping into a dream you're somehow remembering, even as it's happening. It's as though time itself hesitates, leaving you suspended in a curious limbo between the familiar and the unknown. This experience isn't just about fleeting recognition. It's deeper, almost like your mind is tracing invisible threads that connect this moment to countless others, real or imagined. It can be disorienting, even unsettling, but it's also deeply human. Reminder of how complex and layered our perception of reality truly is. Think of it as your brain's way of stitching together fragments of memory and present experience, weaving them into a tapestry that feels both familiar and new. There's something comforting in that, too, knowing that even in moments of confusion, your mind is simply trying to make sense of the world in its own unique way. So, when you feel it again, pause and breathe. It's not a mistake. It's a quiet glimpse into the vast, intricate dance of your thoughts. Asterisk, you're sitting there, perhaps on a quiet evening, when suddenly it hits you, a cascade of repeated déjà vu, like a loop you can't escape. A phrase whispered over and over in your mind. It's not just the familiar feeling of having been here before. It's that feeling folding in on itself. A hall of mirrors where every reflection is another déjà vu. It's disorienting, yes, but also strangely mesmerizing. Like watching waves crash on the shore, only to realize each wave is a smaller version of the one before. Why does this happen? It's as if your brain, momentarily caught in a glitch, is trying to make sense of a moment that feels both too familiar and entirely new. Think of it as your mind playing a game of catch-up, scrambling to align memory with experience, and in the process, creating this layered, spiraling sensation. It's not something to fear, though. If anything, it's a reminder of how intricate and mysterious our thoughts can be. Like a fleeting breeze that stirs the leaves but leaves no trace, this phenomenon slips away as quickly as it arrives. leaving you with a quiet curiosity about the way your mind weaves the tapestry of time and memory. Asterisk, you sit there, turning the word over in your mind like a smooth stone in your palm, déjà vu, again and again, as if the repetition itself might unlock its mystery. It's that eerie whisper of familiarity, like stepping into a room you've never entered yet somehow know, or hearing a stranger's laugh that echoes a dream you can't quite place. But when it loops relentlessly, folding back on itself, like a hallway of mirrors, it becomes something else entirely, a glitch in the rhythm of your thoughts, a record skipping on the same note. The mind, after all, is a storyteller, always weaving patterns, stitching together moments to make sense of the world. Sometimes, though it stumbles, replaying a scene before it's even finished, leaving you suspended between recognition and confusion. There's no need for alarm. It's just your brain brushing too close to its own seams, like a sleeve catching on a door handle. And in that odd, looping moment, you're reminded how delicate perception can be, how easily the familiar can tilt into the uncanny, like sunlight through a prism, bending reality just enough to make you pause and wonder. Asterisk, you find yourself caught in a loop, a fleeting sensation that feels like stepping into a room you've never been in, yet somehow know intimately. It's the sudden déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu phenomenon, a cascade of moments that spiral inward, folding time and memory into something almost surreal. Imagine standing by a river, watching the same ripple pass you again and again, always familiar, yet always new. This experience isn't just déjà vu, it's déjà vu layered upon itself, like echoes in a canyon or reflections in a hall of mirrors. It's as if your mind is nudging you, whispering, "You've been here before, haven't you?" even when you know you haven't. Scientists often chalk it up to misfiring neurons or crossed wires in the brain. But it feels deeper than that, like a fleeting glimpse of the threads that weave your life together. It's gentle, almost comforting, a reminder that even the strangest moments are part of the tapestry of being human. So, when it happens next, don't fight it. Let it wash over you, like a wave returning to the shore, carrying with it the quiet mystery of existence. Asterisk, you sit there, caught in that strange loop where the present feels like an echo of something you've already lived in, just once, but over and over, like a ripple circling back to its source. It's as if your mind has stumbled into a hallway of mirrors, each reflection whispering, "You've been here before," even as you know you haven't. This isn't just déjà vu, it's déjà vu layered on itself, a spiraling sensation that can leave you equal parts fascinated and unsettled. But here's the quiet truth. Your brain is simply weaving moments together, stitching familiarity where none exists, like a storyteller who keeps revisiting the same tale because it feels comforting, even if it's not quite real. It doesn't mean you're slipping into some uncanny void, just means your mind is playing its oldest trick, blurring the lines between memory and imagination. And isn't that oddly beautiful? Like watching a shadow dance the same steps in different light. It's a reminder of how softly our minds bend time, how gently they remind us that even the unfamiliar can feel like home. Asterisk, you know that feeling, when you're walking down a familiar path, and suddenly, it's as if the world around you flickers, like a glitch in a movie reel, and you're certain you've been here before, not just once, but over and over, as if caught in an endless loop. That's the strange mystery of what some call the sudden déjà vu phenomenon. A cascade of echoes where the sensation of déjà vu repeats itself, folding back on itself like a ripple reflecting in a pond. It's not just a fleeting moment of recognition. It's a layered awareness, as though you've stepped into a room where mirrors face mirrors, multiplying the déjà vu into infinity. Some say it's the mind's way of trying to make sense of something it can't quite grasp, like a dream you're on the edge of remembering but never fully do. It can feel disorienting, almost dizzying, but there's something oddly comforting about it. A reminder that our minds are vast, intricate landscapes, full of uncharted corners and quiet mysteries. In moments like these, it's as if time itself pauses, inviting you to wonder, to marvel, and to sit with the unknowable beauty of being human. You've probably experienced that fleeting sense of familiarity, like stepping into a moment that feels as though it's already happened, like an echo of something you can't quite place. Now, imagine that sensation repeating, folding in on itself, like ripples in a pond that never quite settle. This is what extreme déjà vu feels like. A looping, almost dizzying awareness that you've been here before, even as logic tells you otherwise. It's as if your mind is flipping through the pages of a book, only to find the same paragraph written over and over. Psychologists believe this might happen when your brain momentarily misfires, blending memory and perception in a way that feels uncannily real. But there's a deeper layer here. An invitation to pause and wonder about the nature of time, memory, and how we make sense of the world. It's not something to fear, though. Think of it as your mind's way of reminding you that life is full of patterns, connections, and moments that feel as though they're part of something larger. And in that, there's a strange comforter, gentle whisper that even in the chaos, there's a thread of familiarity, a quiet rhythm to everything. You're sitting there, lost in thought, when suddenly it hits you a wave of familiarity so intense it loops back on itself, like an echo in a hallway that never ends. Déjà vu. The sensation spirals, each layer folding into the next, as if your mind is trying to trace a path it already walked but can't quite map. It's not just the feeling of having been here before. It's the uncanny sense that you've felt this feeling before, too, like a dream within a dream. Some say it's a glitch in memory, a momentary tangle of neurons, but there's something quietly profound in how it mirrors life itself, how moments repeat, patterns emerge, and yet we're still surprised when they do. Think of it as your brain gently nudging you, whispering, "Pay attention," not to frighten you, but to remind you that even in the ordinary, there's a flicker of mystery, soft as a shadow passing over water. And when it fades, you're left with a quiet wonder, as if you've brushed against something vast and unseen. Just for a second, you notice it creeping in like a faint echo, a ripple across the surface of your thoughts, déjà vu. That flicker of familiarity where everything feels oddly replayed. But then it happens again and again, twisting into something deeper, like a looped melody you can't quite place. Extreme déjà vu is like standing in a room where the walls seem to shift, where the lines between memory and moment blur. It's not just a fleeting sense of "I've been here before." It's as though you're caught in a current, carried backward and forward at once, unsure which way is real. Imagine looking at a photograph that's slightly out of focus, the edges softening into something both known and unfamiliar. It can feel unsettling, even isolating, as though your mind is dancing just out of step with the world. Yet within this strange sensation lies a quiet invitation to pause, to lean into the mystery rather than resist it. Think of it as your brain's way of whispering, "Notice this," nudging you to pay attention to the threads of experience weaving through your life. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. It's simply a reminder of how layered our perceptions can be, like stepping into a dream that feels achingly close to waking. Allow yourself to sit with it, curious and calm, knowing that even in repetition, there's something uniquely new. Asterisk, asterisk, you know, that strange, fleeting moment when you feel like you've already lived this exact second before. Not just once, but over and over, like a loop you can't quite escape. It's the mystery of the sudden déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu, where the déjà vu itself seems to echo back on itself, creating a hall of mirrors in your mind. It's as if your brain stumbles into a familiar alley, only to realize it's wandered into a dream it had about that alley. This phenomenon isn't just a glitch. It's a gentle reminder of how layered and intricate your thoughts can be. Think of it like a river that momentarily circles back on itself, creating eddies of familiarity before flowing on. It's not something to fear or overanalyze. It's a quiet nod to the way your mind tries to make sense of time and memory, even when they tangle momentarily. It's like your brain whispering, "Wait, I've been here before," even if it hasn't. And maybe that's the beauty of it. It invites you to pause, reflect, and marvel at the mystery of your own inner world. Asterisk, asterisk, you might have experienced that strange, looping sensation of déjà vu where a moment feels so familiar, as if you've lived it before, and yet you know you haven't. But imagine that feeling multiplying, stacking upon itself like echoes in a canyon until it feels as though you're caught in a spiral of repetition, wondering if time itself has folded in on you. Extreme déjà vu can be unsettling, like trying to read a sentence over and over, each time expecting it to make sense but finding only the same words staring back. It's not just a fleeting oddity. It lingers, tugging at your awareness like a skipped track on an old record. Yet, beneath that discomfort lies something intriguing, reminder of how deeply interconnected your mind and memory are, how they weave past, present, and perception into a tapestry that sometimes frays at the edges. It's as if your brain, in its quiet way, is trying to reconcile the flow of time, searching for patterns where none exist. In moments like these, it's okay to pause, to let the sensation wash over you without fear. It's not a sign of something broken, but of something curious, a whisper from the vast, mysterious depths of your own inner world. Asterisk, you're sitting there, sipping your tea, when suddenly it hits you, a wave of familiarity so intense it loops back on itself, like an echo in a hall of mirrors. Déjà vu is strange enough, but what about when it feels like you're experiencing déjà vu of déjà vu, spiraling inward like a fractal of déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu? It's as if your mind briefly stumbles over a wrinkle in time, or maybe just a glitch in the way memories form, like a record skipping on a word it already sang. Scientists aren't entirely sure why this happens, but it's likely just your brain's way of checking its own filing system, a momentary misfire, where perception and memory overlap, leaving you caught in a gentle, bewildering tide. There's nothing to fear, though. Think of it as your mind pausing to admire its own reflection, like a cat startled by its shadow. These moments pass as quickly as they come, leaving behind only a quiet wonder, a reminder that even the most familiar corners of your mind can still hold a little mystery. Asterisk, you're sitting there, maybe curled up with a warm drink, and you start to wonder about that strange sensation of déjà vu. This isn't just one fleeting moment. It's like a loop, a spiral of repetition, where the same feeling of familiarity keeps washing over you again and again. It's as if you're walking through a forest and every turn brings you back to the same tree, its bark worn smooth from the countless times you've passed it. Extreme déjà vu can feel like that, a gentle, almost haunting echo of a moment you're sure you've lived before, even though you know you haven't. It's a little unsettling, isn't it? But there's something almost beautiful in it too, like a brushstroke of mystery in the painting of your mind. It's your brain playing a quiet game, perhaps trying to make sense of the world by stitching together fragments of memory and perception. It's not something to fear, but to observe, like watching clouds drift across the sky, wondering at their shapes. In those moments, you're reminded of how complex and intricate your thoughts can be, like a tapestry woven with threads of time, an experience. And maybe, just maybe, it's a gentle nudge to slow down, to pause, and to marvel at the quiet wonders of your own mind. Asterisk, you pause, feeling that strange flicker in your mind, like a ripple on the surface of a still pond. Déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu. It's as if you've not only been here before, but also remembered being here before. A loop within a loop. It's both familiar and disorienting, like trying to catch a shadow with your hands. These moments can feel like glitches in time, but they're more like whispers from your brain, a gentle nudge to pay attention. Think of it as your mind's way of saying, wait, this feels important, even if it's not immediately clear why. It's not something to fear. It's a curious quirk of how we process memories, like a tangled thread unraveling briefly before knitting itself back together. Sometimes, life moves so fast that these moments act as tiny anchors, grounding you in the present even as they echo the past. They remind you that your mind is vast and layered, full of stories you've lived and those you've yet to write. So, when it happens, take a breath, smile at the mystery, and let it pass like a soft breeze, fleeting, but deeply human. You're sitting there, wondering why the moment feels so eerily familiar, as though you've lived it 100 times before. It's like watching a movie you can't quite remember, but the scenes feel unmistakably yours. Extreme déjà vu is one of those curious quirks of the mind, a glitch in the system that makes you question how we experience time and memory. Imagine walking through a forest where every tree looks exactly the same. No matter how far you go, you're convinced you've already passed this way. That's what it's like. Your brain, in a moment of overzealous pattern recognition, connects the present to something that feels like the past, even when it isn't. It's not unsettling in a frightening way, but more like a gentle nudge, to pause and wonder. What if it's your mind's way of reminding you that life is both fleeting and cyclical? It's not something to fear, but rather a quiet invitation to be present, to notice the details that make this moment uniquely yours. In those strange, repetitive echoes, there's a kind of comforter reminder that even in the unknown, something feels familiar. And perhaps that's enough. Asterisk, you're sitting there, wrapped in the quiet hum of an ordinary moment, when suddenly, it hits a wave of familiarity so intense it loops back on itself, like an echo trapped in a hall of mirrors. Déjà vu, the feeling spirals, as if your mind has stumbled into a glitch, a wrinkle in time where the present folds over and over, never quite landing. It's not just the uncanny sense of having been here before. It's the eerie certainty that you felt this exact déjà vu before, too, like a dream within a dream. Some say it's the brain's fleeting hiccup, a momentary misfire as memories form, while others wonder if it's a glimpse into something deeper, a flicker of parallel lives or hidden layers of consciousness. But perhaps it's simply the mind's gentle reminder of how fragile our grip on time really is, like trying to hold water in your hands, only to watch it slip through again and again. Whatever it is, there's solace in knowing you're not alone. This strange, looping déjà vu is just another quiet mystery woven into the fabric of being human. Asterisk, you sit there, perhaps a little puzzled, as the world around you seems to fold in on itself, like a book you've read before but can't quite place. The feeling of déjà vu washes over you not once, but again and again, like waves lapping at the shore, each one leaving behind a faint trace of familiarity. It's as though you've stepped into a loop, a moment caught in time, and your mind is tugging at threads you can't quite see. This isn't just a fleeting thought. It's a cascade of echoes, each one pulling you deeper into the quiet mystery of your own consciousness. You might wonder why this happens, why your brain seems to replay a scene it insists you've lived before. It's as if your mind is trying to solve a puzzle, searching for patterns in the chaos, stitching together fragments of memory and experience. And while it can feel disorienting, even a little unsettling, it's also a reminder of how deeply connected we are to the moments we've lived and the stories we've told ourselves. It's not a flaw or a glitch, it's just your mind reaching out to reassure itself, to find its footing in the vast, ever-shifting landscape of time. Asterisk, you've felt it before, haven't you? That moment when time seems to fold in on itself, like a ripple in a still pond echoing back to you, whispering, "I've been here." It's not just déjà vu, layered upon déjà vu, a cascade of familiarity that feels as though you're caught in a loop, a spiral of moments that stretch infinitely. It's like opening a book to the same page over and over, each time sensing you've read it before, yet the words seem just out of reach. This phenomenon, this sudden déjà vu, is curious because it doesn't just hint at the passé. Feels as though it's unraveling something deeper, a thread of consciousness tangled in the fabric of time itself. Imagine standing in a room with mirrors facing each other, reflections stretching into eternity. It's like that, but with memories or the illusion of them. It's not something to fear though. If anything, it's a gentle reminder of how intricate and mysterious our minds are, how they weave stories and connections even when we don't fully understand them. It's like the universe pausing, brushing your shoulder, and saying, "Notice this moment." And so, you pause, too, embracing the mystery with a quiet wonder. Asterisk, you sit there, caught in that strange loop where the present folds back on itself, like a ripple in a pond meeting its own echo, déjà vu, again and again, as if time itself has stuttered. It's not just familiarity. It's the uncanny sense that you've lived this exact moment before, down to the smallest detail, like a needle stuck in the groove of a record, replaying the same few notes. Your mind, usually so sure of its footing, hesitates, as if standing at the edge of a dream you can't quite wake from. But here's the gentle truth. It's not a glitch in reality, just a fleeting misfire in the way your brain stitches together memory and perception, like two threads tangling for a moment before unraveling again. It's a reminder of how delicate our sense of time really is, how easily the mind can blur the lines between what's new and what's remembered. And though it might feel unsettling, it's also oddly beautiful proof of how richly your mind weaves the tapestry of your experience, even when the threads briefly cross in unexpected ways. You're not losing time, you're just noticing, for a moment, how fragile and fluid it truly is. Asterisk, you pause for a moment, caught in the strange loop of a feeling that folds back on itself like a hallway of mirrors, each reflection whispering, "I've been here before, I've been here before, I've been here before." It's not just déjà vu. It's déjà vu layered upon itself, a ripple in time that leaves you wondering if your mind has briefly slipped its gears or brushed against something deeper. Think of it like a record skipping, not just once, but several times, the same note, repeating until the melody feels both familiar and unsettlingly new. Scientists might call it a glitch in memory, a momentary overlap between perception and recall. But there's something quietly poetic in the way it stretches the fabric of your ordinary thoughts. You're not losing your grip, you're simply noticing how fragile and fluid time can feel when the mind plays its tricks. And perhaps that's the mystery's gentle gift, a reminder that even in the most familiar moments, there's room for wonder, for the soft, uncanny sense that reality is lighter and more layered than it seems. Asterisk, you sit there, feeling it again, that strange, looping sensation, as if time itself has folded over like a crumpled page, repeating the same words, the same moment, endlessly. It's not just familiarity. It's as though you've stepped into a hallway of mirrors, each reflection whispering, "You've been here before," even as you know you haven't. The mind, ever the storyteller, sometimes stumbles over its own threads, weaving the present into a pattern it swears it's already seen. Like a record skipping, the same note plays again and again, leaving you suspended between curiosity and unease. But there's a quiet comfort in knowing this isn't some glitch in reality, just your brain momentarily mistaking the new for the old, like a librarian shelving a fresh book in the wrong section. It's a reminder of how delicately we balance between perception and memory, how easily the mind can blur the lines. And though it feels uncanny, it's also strangely human, a fleeting glimpse into the quiet machinery of thought, humming along, sometimes tripping over its own feet. You're not losing anything. You're just noticing, for a moment, how the gears turn. Asterisk, you've probably felt it before, strange, fleeting moment where the present feels like an echo of something you've already experienced, but you can't quite place when or where. It's like walking into a room and suddenly being struck by the sense that you've been there before, in this exact moment, even though you know you haven't. This is déjà vu, a phenomenon that feels both comforting and disorienting, as if time itself has briefly folded in on itself. Now, imagine experiencing déjà vu about déjà vu, cascade of that familiar sensation, looping endlessly like ripples in a pond. It's as though your mind is trying to cling to a memory that doesn't exist, leaving you caught in a spiral of déjà vu, déjà vu, déjà vu. While it might feel unsettling, it's a reminder of how intricately your brain weaves together perceptions and memories, sometimes stitching them in ways that don't quite align with reality. It's like a glimpse into the delicate machinery of your mind, where past and present momentarily blur. So, the next time it happens, take a breath and marvel at it, a fleeting reminder of how mysterious and beautifully complex your thoughts can be. Asterisk. You sit there, caught in that strange loop where the present feels like an echo of itself, repeating like a whisper in an empty hallway. Déjà vu, layered upon déjà vu, until the world seems to fold in on itself. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The more you grasp, the quicker it slips away, leaving only the faintest trace of familiarity. This isn't just memory playing tricks, it's as if your mind, for a moment, steps out of time, brushing against a version of reality that isn't quite yours. Some say it's the brain's way of checking its own wiring, a gentle stutter. In perception, like a record skipping on a familiar melody. And while it can feel unsettling, even dizzying, there's something oddly comforting in it. To a reminder that your mind is vast, capable of weaving moments into patterns beyond ordinary understanding. So when it happens, don't fight it. Let it pass like a ripple on a pond, knowing you're not losing control, but touching the edges of something beautifully mysterious. Asterisk, you pause for a moment, caught in the strange loop of a déjà vu that seems to echo endlessly, like a ripple circling back to its source in a still pond. It's a fleeting yet persistent sensation, as if your mind has momentarily slipped out of time, brushing against a shadow of itself. Scientists say it might be a hiccup in memory, a brief misfire where the present feels like the past, but that doesn't quite capture the quiet wonder of it. Think of it like a story you've read before, but the words unnew your brain, ever the eager storyteller, stitches familiarity into the unfamiliar, weaving threads you didn't know were there. There's comfort in that, isn't there? Even in the mystery, there's a gentle reminder that your mind is alive, reaching, trying to make sense of the world in its own way. So when it happens again, don't fret. It's just your thoughts, like a familiar whisper in a crowded room, reminding you that even the ordinary can feel extraordinary, if only for a second.